Welcome to Glowing Success. My name is Heidi and I am your host. This podcast is for beauty entrepreneurs. Join me weekly as we dive into the beauty industry's ins and outs, from business strategies, top-selling services, and taboo topics. I will be interviewing industry leaders with empowering stories and game-changing insights. Let's illuminate your path to success together. Let's jump into this next episode. Welcome back to Glowing Success. Today, I have an amazing interview. You guys are going to love this. I have Mindset Melanie. Now, she works with female founders. She is the secret weapon for female founders who want to stop being strong and start being powerful. So thank you so much, Melanie, for being on.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited for everything that we're going to talk about today.
Right? I was telling her, I'm benefiting from this as much as everybody else that's listening. But Melanie, for anybody that might not know who you are, can you give a little bit about yourself?
I would love to. Thank you. So I am many things, which is why we call me the secret weapon for female founders, because I'm a business mindset coach / energy healer / psychic intuitive. So when you're ready to really start showing up in your full capacity, your authenticity, and enter your iconic era, then you're ready to work with me, because it's so much more than strategy. It's so much more than mindset. And we were actually just having a conversation about this at the Neurospicy Academy before I came here, about how if you keep having to reorganize or relaunch or do this new thing or try this new strategy, where you would benefit from focusing is on your intuition and your self-trust. And that is really the root of mindset. So a lot of business owners wait until I'm their last resort, because they've tried every strategy and they've tried, you're scrolling on Instagram and you're getting everybody's freebie or buying everybody's $20 thing, and you're just go, consume. But we really have to switch into producer mode, and you have to have self-trust and the appropriate mindset to make that happen. Ryan Serhant actually said, he's my new boyfriend, but he doesn't know it, nor does my husband. It's fine. It's an ADHD thing, limerence.
I
But
love
he
it.
said the other day, he goes, being positive is not being happy all the time. Happiness is a wave. Positivity is the ocean. And I was like, you know what? That's so perfect. That's absolute. To have a positive mindset doesn't mean bad things don't happen to you. It simply means that they don't take you out at the knees, because there's better things coming.
Yeah. And I love this topic, because I do feel like for a lot of beauty professionals, we get in our heads a lot, and then, competition is there, right? So, and it's always going to be there. So, and I love that, actually. I feel like a certain amount of competition really is healthy, and it kind of boosts you a little bit. But we can get in our heads, and a lot of it is mindset. So some of it's mindset when it comes to how we show up physically, right? And then some of it's mindset of we don't necessarily think that we deserve this level of success, even though we're picturing in our head, I want my spa salon to be this big, I want my books to be this full, or I want my career to look like this. Sometimes our mindset behind all that, and we don't know it, is it's really damaging us, actually. And so I thought that was really interesting, all the things you said, because there's so much more to it than just being positive. And I do think I think that for a while there was a lot of negative positivity online. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where people are just smile and it'll happen, or I don't know how to describe it exactly, but it was toxic. And I just don't really think, like you were saying, I don't think we think like that. And I think when people are, let's say they're embarking on a new adventure of being a business owner, right? Like you were saying, or if you're a seasoned business owner and trying something new, that's how I am. I've had my spa for 13 years and I started doing coaching, and it's all new to me. We can really get in our heads about it, but it is about just showing up authentically, right? You do this very well online. So anybody that's listening, I found her online. We always get attracted to things, but I do think some of it is the universe, right? Sometimes the universe pushes people in front of you for different reasons. And honestly, I kept on coming back to it. And I was like, there's something here. So, and I know that you talked about this too. they're still fine, but there is something to that too. So showing up consistently. And maybe if the listener is having a hard time showing up, let's say, like, let's just talk about online and then we could talk about other things too. But like, let's say you're just trying to show up consistently online. Like, that's obviously a big thing that people like to push sometimes. I don't necessarily think it's the only thing that beauty entrepreneurs need to get themselves out there, but it definitely helps. How do you, like, when you work with people and you see that, like, what do you think is really sometimes the root of it? Heavy question.
When we're If we talk specifically about how to show up on social media so that I can give you actionable strategies and we can stay on topic, hopefully. Um, if you think about consistency not as how do you show up at 100% every single day, because that's not sustainable. And because we were fed a lie, especially if you're neurodivergent and finding out about it late in life. Hi, everybody in perimenopause. Welcome to my nightmare. But if you're thinking about it as consistency means 3 videos a day on 3 platforms every single day for the rest of my life, why would you even do that? Your brain's not going to give you any go-go juice to make that happen. That sounds terrible. And if you switch out consistency for a strategy that works for you and is flexible, I talk about this all the time in anywhere that will listen. You need to have a content bank. You need to have videos of yourself where you look like a baddie and somebody else filmed you. Get your husband in there, get your kid in there, get your bestie in there. It doesn't matter who it is, but you got to suck it up and you got to know that you look crazy to the people around you, but the people around you are not buying your services. And you need this kind of content that resonates with all of your potential clients, builds your community. And so that if you're laying in bed with a cold, like some of us get, especially around this time of year, back to school, you can just go through your content bank and post something to all your platforms and it's done, right? Especially with ChatGPT, there is no reason anymore why you cannot post to your social media because it teaches you how to be a boss. You go to ChatGPT, I need a caption for my 7-second TikTok video that's a before and after of my eyebrow services. And he'll spit some out. You copy paste that over to your video of you looking like a boss on your cell phone with your blazer on, video's out for the day. And you never even had to leave your bed.
Yeah. And it really is just showing up and not really like you were saying, don't worry about how you look to the people that are like on the street when you're taking those videos, because those people aren't in your life. Those people aren't going to be your ideal clients. I talk about ideal clients a lot in the service industry. And ideal clients can just transfer to any business, doesn't have to be the
Yeah.
service industry, but like, you know, so let's maybe switch up gears a little bit, because online, that's something that we all just need to just do, right? It's a do thing. Let's talk about showing up and your mindset, how it affects you in your business. So, I would like to kind of talk about maybe being a new business owner and being a seasoned business owner, because I do think like there's some things that are different with them, but there's also a lot of similarities. But like, it's really about it starts in your mindset.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
100%. Um when it becomes like you have to make decisions. So obviously business owners, if you are starting a business or if you're in a business, if you're listening, you are going to be making a lot of decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of decisions, and nobody's going to tell you how to make them or what's the best choice to make them and so forth. So, you know, I think it also depends on your mindset when you're going into those decisions. Like if you're going into it thinking, well, I don't know, I'm just not feeling it, or I don't know if I want to do this, or, like you're not going to make them, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like how to describe it other than that. So, how do we hit over those hurdles, I guess? Like, how, when we're hitting those roadblocks, and you're saying this too, like sometimes people come to me and they're like in their desperate moments. How do we not not hit those desperate moments? Maybe is there a secret to this? I know I'm asking a weird question, but like, what do you find that a
I
lot of people are kind of having in common with this?
the My most successful clients change before they have to. And if we're talking to a lot of women who have families, who are 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond, and dealing with some sort of health thing. I mean, I waited until I was running my business for a full year. I wasn't working in the restaurant anymore, and I was more financially successful than I had ever thought possible. And I slept through our 7-day mountain vacation in July of 2022. that we spent a lot of time and money and effort to be able to afford and get there. And I looked at that king size bed and I said, I'll see y'all later. And I didn't go swimming with anybody. We didn't go hiking. I don't have any pictures. All I remember is spending money on groceries at the expensive mountain town grocery store that I could have just been at home doing. And when I came home from that, I said, listen, this ain't it anymore. And I've pursued what my chronic conditions were and what they needed in terms of healing. And the root of that is your mindset. And if you're confused as to what mindset is, it's really your perspective. You're choosing to see how things are working out for you instead of choosing to see how they're not, because your brain is going to verify whatever information you ask it to verify. So if you are saying to yourself, oh my God, I'm so shitty, your brain is going to come to you and say, yep, here's why, and here's why, and here's why. But if you're saying to yourself, I am so lucky, your brain is going to seek to verify that. So the root of it is, do you believe that you can make it and that things are working out in your favor? Or do you believe that, and this happens to so many new business owners, that you're going to post on social media about this service and that people are going to go, you don't know what you're doing. Oh! Because here's the thing. That doesn't happen. And if it does happen, it's a bot or it's a terrible man or it's something else and it's not your ideal client. It's not part of your community. And, we wait for permission, but we're the business owner and we're the ones that are doing the permission. So if you want to change something, change something.
Yes.
But, give it a chance, especially to the newbies and especially to anybody who wants to pivot or launch something new. We talk about this in the Neurospicy Academy all the time. You have to give
Mhm.
something at least 90 days before
Yeah.
you're able to figure out if it's good or not. And the problem with a lot of people is that you spend so much time launching something that you're so familiar with it that you assume everybody else is that familiar with it, but nobody else was launching it with you. Nobody knows what you're talking about. If you think you're
Yes.
posting too much on social media, keep posting. Nobody sees all of your content. And if they do, it's because they
Yeah.
saw you and they fell in love with you and they wanted to go binge your content.
Yes. And amen to that. Have them binge it because they probably are your ideal client then.
Yeah.
I think you are just hitting the nail on the head with so many things because and I deal with these things too. And so that's why I was like I'm really in this like awakening part of my business life right now of like I'm waking up to the fact that like yes, I do have the knowledge, right? And I think that's another thing too like we all think like this is maybe just me in my coaching voice, but like you do have that knowledge or thinking like let's say you're very interested in just going into browse and you've been doing a lot of other SD services, let's say, being an esthetician, I always speak to estheticians because, I'm an esthetician. But, let's say you're like super passionate about brows, but you're super nervous to go into it because there's a lot of other brow people in your area that are amazing. And really you feel kind of like, oh, am I going to stand out? I think there's so much like you have to just get that out of your head and just go forward and just keep on telling yourself the things like you said that are good about the things that you're doing, that are, maybe how long you've been thinking about it or like the praises that you have heard. Like there's so much like the focus needs to be refocused sometimes.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of noise out there. And I think that's what you're talking
Yeah.
about too, of like, there's going to be noise all the time. And I tell this to people all the time about competition. The competition's always going to be there. You're always going to have competition, especially if you rent in a salon suite. So if you're listening and you rent in a salon suite, I've rented 2 different salon suites in my career. You are always going to have competition, like literally right down the hallway from you. And that's
Yeah.
just going to happen. But that's where, Melanie has been very good about that's where other coaches like myself are really good about like helping you draw out that, that mindset and where that's rooted from or helping you draw out how to brand yourself, right? Because some of it's really about branding. Like you can have a great idea and have a great mindset, but then what do you do with it? And that's
Yeah.
something you help out too. Now she's mentioning things in here that we will of course be putting in the show notes so you guys can follow Melanie where she's at. You guys can check out all the things that she offers. So don't worry about that part. I always put things in the show notes. So don't worry about that. And she'll talk a little bit more about some of the things that she's doing towards the end here. But that is something you focus on too, right? Is like the branding piece of all of it, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah, your
like,
brand is everything. It's
right?
in
Like,
real life, online, all of that. From the point of what clothes do you want to wear, how do you want to do your hair, how do you want to do your makeup, who do you want to spend time with, what do you want to talk about, where do you want to show up? All that's your brand because you're
because
building something bigger than yourself. Whether you're an
yeah,
esthetician, whether you're a coach, whether you founded a marketing agency, it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. What you're putting online is not you, it's an image of you, right? It's this. I saw somebody talking about this on social media yesterday, and he was like, what you're doing when you're putting yourself out there, whether you're becoming a celebrity or you're becoming well known for your services, whatever it is, you're creating a god of yourself, a deity of sorts, that because nobody is ever going to know you. Your spouse is never going to know 100% of you. Your kids never are, right? Nobody's going to know you as much as you are. So you have to choose what elements of yourself you're going to share with the world and you're going to make impactful and crucial and pivotal to your message, and what you don't show. I don't really show my kids in my marketing. They're teenagers, so I'm lucky if I get them to hang out with me. My husband does not want to be on social media until he's out of the Navy in a few years. So that's not a big part of my brand. But I'm also not the woman who identifies as a mom and a wife first. So why would it be? You know? So really taking that conscious step of, if you're in a salon full of like suites of other people, yeah, they're competition because they do what you do, but they don't do what you do for your clients,
Yes.
you know?
And I think like, and I just had a conversation earlier with my massage therapist. So I came right from a massage to this recording, you guys. So but we were talking about how you, even if you work for a large busy salon, let's say, because this is always a question I get in the industry when I'm talking to people about like attracting their ideal clients and so forth, is you are always going to have to market yourself. I don't care if you work for a really high end, busy, fancy salon or spa that's like talked about all the time online, you still, as a service provider, are going to be doing some kind of marketing to bring people back in the door, because people come back in the door for you,
Yeah.
what you offer. So whatever that is, so it could be conversation, it could be like you do your job really well, it could be, there's all sorts of things that go into why somebody's going to choose to come back to you. But you have to think about that, of how, like, even if you're working a busy salon, but this especially applies to business owners, like, yeah, what kind of sets you apart? And it has to feel authentic. That's the
Yeah.
one thing I'm kind of, you have to realize very quickly, because you can't grab onto something that's flashy or trendy. You can't grab onto something that you can't keep up, right? Like, you can't grab onto something that doesn't just feel authentically you. So like, for me, for instance, one of the things that I feel like I offer with my spa, I do a lot of lashes. A lot of my clients fall asleep. So like my ambiance, I set it up to be very relaxing, because I've noticed over the years that a lot of my clients need that time to just not answer their phones, not be called mom, not be called whatever at their job, like not answer to anything. And this is their one time in the day where they can't look at their phone. They have to have their eyes closed, right? They, I want to set that environment up so it's successful for them to feel relaxed enough where they can fall asleep while I'm doing their lashes.
Yeah.
And it works every time. And I hear about it weekly. Oh my gosh, your recliner's so comfortable. And oh my gosh, thank you for letting me take a nap. Or oh my gosh, like, you are just such a good place I look forward to, or so forth. So that's, for me, one of my brand things that I can talk about online, or I can talk about in my marketing, is like, you're going to feel so comfortable in my space that you're going to snore and I'm going to love it. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, but there's just so much more to do with it. So I will say, like, if you're just starting off and this is kind of something that you're trying to find who you are, like, there's a lot of opportunities out there for you to either sign up for a course or sign up for a cohort, or do something to help draw that out of you, because it is something that either it takes time to learn it, or some other people can help you kind of draw it out. Would you agree with
Yeah.
that? Because
Absolutely.
yeah, because I do feel like sometimes we get stuck in this rut, and like, of
Yes.
how, of who people think you are, right? Or
Yes.
how you have shown up. So for me, for a long time, I've shown up as somebody in my career or somebody in my life, let's say. But maybe I do want to switch that up, or maybe it's not working anymore, or maybe I'm looking for a fresh start some way, or whatever. Like, it's okay to also change those
Yeah.
things. And I think, like, you were talking about permission earlier, like, where do you, how does somebody get permission, I guess, to, like, in their own sense, like, how do you think, like, what if somebody has an issue with that? What if they're like, man, I do need permission from other people to tell me how to run my life? Which sounds so weird out loud.
I mean, it's it's understandable based on how we're conditioned to behave as women in the Western world. We're taught to self-abandon. We're taught that our intuition isn't right and it makes us crazy. We're taught that we have to have the same level of energy every single day, 30 days a month. even though it's proven that our hormones are impacted by the moon cycle and our cycle. So half of my clients either have had hysterectomies because of, what's going on with them, or they're in perimenopause, or they're in menopause, or chemical menopause. It's incredible the amount of bodily things that us neurospicy female founders are going through. It's almost like stress manifests in the body. Anyways, but you have to understand, you're building your business and your brand so that you can live the life that you want. You're not building a business so that you can work from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. 5 days a week. That's not why you got into this. Even if you're starting out, or even if you're pivoting to something new and you're doing lashes, I know a lot of people that do lashes, they are traveling lash tech. I've had a couple clients who have their own esthetician spas and all that sort of stuff. And, everybody starts somewhere and everybody ends up somewhere. And every single iteration of yourself is a fully formed version of you. So if you're not going to slow down and spend time with yourself and appreciate every part of the process, then really what are we doing? And this is something that I see with people in their mindset and permission. If you're going after your goal so that you can be happy when you hit $30,000 months, or so you can be happy when you're fully booked, what about right now? How far away do we have to make that and then that becomes part of your mindset, is that you can't be happy or fulfilled now because you haven't done the thing yet. And the problem with that mindset is not that you're never going to achieve the goals. The problem is that you're never going to learn how to celebrate the achievements, because you don't just hit $50,000 months and magically your brain goes, let's celebrate this success. You hit it and you go, what's next? And
I
why
agree.
we might as well just go have a job if that's what you're going to do. What are we even,
Yeah.
you started this for the freedom and the recognition for how fabulous you are, but now you don't even have
Yeah.
the time to treat yourself fabulously because you're working too much, or you're marketing too much, or you're worried about this, or it's like, where is the enjoyment?
Always the next. Celebration of our goals and celebration of our milestones that we hit, and just celebration of life in general, I think it's not talked about enough, and it's not like something that many Americans have issues with, I will say. And overworking ourselves and like going on to the next goal. I'm very, very guilty of this. Um, I'm a Virgo rising, and so like so I'm a Sagittarius sun, I'm a Pisces moon, I'm a Virgo rising. So that Virgo rising, from what I understand, it really catches up with me very quickly when it comes to tasks. Yep. And doing things and getting goals and being organized and like all of that. So I will say I'm very guilty of that. And my husband even said something recently to me, because I just hit episode 50. So my last episode was episode 50 on the podcast. I know, so I'm excited. And I didn't really celebrate it a lot. I kind of posted online like episode 50, tune in. But he was saying, he was like, when you're going on this journey, because you're starting a new business and because you're really in that moment, like, why not start celebrating things, even if you think it's goofy, or even if you think that nobody else will understand it, or
You don't think
right?
it's goofy. You think other people will think it's goofy.
Right. Right. Oh, see, those are the little nuggets, you guys. So I think yeah, it's definitely easier said than done, but I will say, like, it, trust your intuition. So for me, a lot of times what's happening, and I think I'm probably speaking to every listener on this episode, is we have intuition that's telling us what to do and the parts that we need to do them, but we're ignoring them, right? We're thinking that intuition moment is funny or it's goofy, or why would I think that? I was telling somebody this the other day, like, I've had something pop in my head the last 6 months all the time, all the time. And why am I ignoring that one thing? I don't know if I want to say it out loud because I'm nervous about it, but
Gonna tell.
but it keeps on popping up. So obviously there's some kind of intuition behind it, because it wouldn't keep on popping up otherwise. Like, maybe do you see that? Or like, how do we make sense of that? If somebody is like thinking about something, or something keeps on popping up and their intuition's telling them this, and they keep on, why are we like so adverse to that? Like, what is that? I don't
We
know.
have we have an internal guidance system. Every single human comes to this planet with an internal guidance system. Some of us identify that as our angels, our guides, God, the universe. There's a plethora of ways that you can identify it. I call it my spirit guides or my spirit team. And I hear messages all day long. And when I'm with a client or if I'm live on TikTok, I'll hear this. Ask them about da 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 da. So I'm like, okay, so now I have to take all of these signs and symbols that I have worked out with my spirit team to put together what I think could be going on in your life. And that happens with a lot of psychics too, where they're like, okay, is there something going on with a bus and traveling? And they're like, oh, actually, my husband and I just decided that we want to sell everything and buy a bus and move. That's a confirmation right then and there
Yeah.
that what you're doing is right. But if you have an
Yeah.
idea that keeps coming to you and you're not pulling the trigger on it, just know that idea is a little ball of energy and it's going to go out of you into the next person and they're going to end up writing that book or doing whatever it is that you're thinking about doing, and you're going to see it
Mhm.
in Barnes and Noble in a couple of years and you're going to go, god damn it, I was going to do that.
Yep. Yeah, and so just take action. The one thing I've learned recently is just take action. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter if it's messy, it doesn't matter if it doesn't feel good, it doesn't matter if you don't think it's like you think you're going to get judgment. I think when it comes to business or when it comes to even just being a service provider, just take action.
Yeah.
It's like, and what's the worst that's going to happen? You know, I've talked about this a little bit in previous podcasts. I spent a lot of money and time to do microblading for brows. So I, I took a training in New York. It was a 3-day training. This was back when we didn't have trainings in Minnesota yet. And I came back and tried to find an apprenticeship. And that took me almost a year to find an apprenticeship because permanent makeup was like a little
Yeah.
different at that time. And so you had to apprentice with a tattoo artist in my state because you have to become a tattoo artist, which is common in a lot of states. And it took me a long time to do that. And then I had to pay a lot of money when I did find that person to apprentice with. And that took time. And then I had to get my actual tattoo licensing. And then you have to get your establishment license to even practice it. So there was so much money and time that got spent into it. And then when it all got said and done, I was good at the service. Don't get me wrong, because I'm kind of a perfectionist at heart, right? So I'm going to like race to the end to be really good at something, which I think that's a whole thing. But I didn't enjoy it. So once I started doing it, I did it for 2 years, hated it because the perfectionist part of my personality was so focused on it being perfect. And I was like, these are people's brows. This is in front of their face. You're going to look at these brows every day, and then your brain like focuses on that and you're like, oh, so it take me like almost an hour just to like draw out their brows even before I
Yeah.
got the service started. And that part of it, I hated it so much. And it was funny because I spent so much time and money on it that I was like, I have to make this work. I have to make it.
Yeah.
And I'm being very vulnerable by telling this story right now. So I hope you guys are like, yeah, tell this story. Um, and so I got caught up in the fact that I did all of that, right? Those steps that it took to get there. And I had to make it work. And don't get me wrong, some of this is like how we grew up, right? Your parents kind of are like, you got to make it work. This is what you're doing. And, maybe there's something to that with that generation. But so I kind of felt bad when I had to give it up. I was like, you know what? Dang. But I was like, this isn't making me happy. It's not aligning with what I want to do. I kind of dread the times that I have to do it, even though, it always comes out good. Don't get me wrong. Like I never had unhappy clients, but it was something that I had to come to terms with. And I was like, one of my bigger career things that I spent a lot of time and money on, right? Because like I would say all the other stuff, you just learn from it. So if let's say I spent a little money on marketing and didn't work or whatever, that didn't hit me as much as this one did. And so it was hard. It was
Yeah.
like, dang, like, but going through that, now I know like, but sometimes you have to go through those things to know.
Yeah.
I don't take it back. I'm very educated on that. So when I do recommend my clients to get that service, not only do I have people to recommend them to, but now I understand that service into a different place, right? Or I keep my tattoo license just in case. Who knows? I can maybe transfer that licensing into another service that I want to do. So like now I kind of look at it from a positive aspect, but it took me a while to shift that mindset into it's not a failure. You didn't just spend tens of thousands, over $10,000 of money. Like, it was a lot for me to kind of get over that. And so it was an interesting experience, but now I'm on the other side of that. And now when I go over into hurdles, and I'm hoping I'm inspiring somebody that's listening, when you go into future hurdles, sometimes you aren't going to know until you try things.
Yeah.
And
There's
that,
no wrong decision. There's just experiences, Now you know. And
yeah,
that's where mindset comes in. Instead of saying to yourself, wow, I really wasted so many years and so much money doing this, and now I'm not even doing it, la, 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 la. That comes, when I was young, my parents made me explain an A minus or a B. If it wasn't straight A's, what the fuck are you bringing home? If I wanted to play soccer, you can damn well bet I'm going to have to play the entire season. You can bet, I got in a lot of trouble my junior year of high school when I finally quit the marching band. Shout out to fellow tuba players because they're like, this ain't it anymore. I'm not one of these people. I was one of these people, but I'm definitely not them now. Now I'm just trying to date dudes that are out of high school. Get me out of here. So, we all have our own stuff to work through. But, really,
right.
and that's a big thing in business too. It's not even just mindset, the sunk cost fallacy. You think you've put too much money in it
Yeah,
to give up, but there's better
right.
ways to go about business growth and business pivoting. I don't know so much in the esthetician, permanent makeup world, because obviously, like you said, there's so much licensing and stuff. But when it comes to just like
Yeah,
marketing, you find out what people want before you start saying, this is what everybody wants. Because if you launch a whole new
yes,
thing and nobody gives a shit about it, what are we doing here?
yeah. Do that market research. And sometimes when you're doing that market research, you'll find out if you really like it or is this a trend. And I will say, if I get down to the root of that, doing, permanent makeup or semi-permanent makeup, because I think microblading is kind of considered not, as permanent as a tattoo. If I look down to the root of it, and I did, it was early trending at that time in Minnesota, and I wanted to
Yeah.
be one of the first, right? Right? You need that validation sometimes. I want to be one of the first people in my state to be like, yeah, I do this. I offer this service. Or I heard like a subset of my clients that wanted it and they heard about it. And so there is some ego involved in some of our decision making when it comes to that kind of stuff. And so I've been in check with my ego a little bit more ever since then, right? Like trying to stay in check anyway. I don't think that's ever going to be like a problem I don't think that's a problem everybody's going to. I mean, your ego sometimes just plays a role in your life. Like that's just
Yeah.
decision making ego sometimes. Um, but I do think, now that I've gone through that, my mind, like you were saying, your mindset, sometimes it's really, you have to go over those hurdles sometimes to understand, like, I can live through that. Yes, that was a big thing, but like that doesn't define me, doesn't define how you're going to make decisions in the future. And I think that's a huge one too. Like, I think for me, I even didn't trust my own decision making capabilities after that. Cause I was like, well, if I made that decision and I made that mistake, let's put that in quotations, what else am I going to do in the future? And one thing I learned from that, other than just having a little bit stronger armor when it comes to mindset, was do more market research. Like you're saying, like, do a little bit more
Yeah.
market research to decide, like, is this really something that's trending? Is it something that's going to stick around? Is it something that feels like intuitively speaking to yourself and your brand? Or is it just something that you want to pick up because you want to be the first in your state?
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, if you're listening, listen, if you do make decisions sometimes and they, don't worry about it. It is something in life that you will be able to work through. So Melanie,
Yeah.
you have a lot of things that you offer. So one of the things that I kind of want to I touch on is the things that you offer and how you offer them. And maybe if somebody's interested in listening and they're like, I'm interested in working with Melanie. What are some of the things you have going on right now in your business or businesses?
Oh man. Uh businesses, that is
Yep,
correct.
yep, yep.
So I am the founder. I founded my coaching company back in 2020, but I got my first client in 2021, 6 months later, but we don't need to say anything about that. It's fine. No, I do like to share that story because there's such a fallacy perpetuated in the coaching industry that you just start your coaching business and instantly you're making $20,000 a month. I mean, that wasn't my experience, so I can't cop to anybody else's. But I started my business because I realized that uh, people needed work on their mindset. And so over the years, it's grown into working exclusively with female founders and entrepreneurs who are really ready to, again, stop being strong and start being powerful, because I work with the perfectionists and the people pleasers and the ones that are afraid to, roll the dice or pull the trigger or let go of control, or, the people that are shoulding themselves all the time. Because should is a word that I don't even use anymore. I replace it with I would benefit from. And that's something that all the listeners can do right now to instantly shift your mindset. If you're sitting here saying, I should post today, or I should make content, or I should do this, Replace it with I would benefit from. And if the statement still works,
Oh,
go forward. But if the statement doesn't work anymore, you were shaming yourself and we don't need to do that.
yes. Oh,
Very important. But you can work with me one-on-one. I have a 4-week long container where we get pretty rapid results, but it's a lot of work and we're talking all the time and we're pushing on your mindset. We're pushing on your social media. We're pushing on your self-care and we're pushing on your wardrobe and the way that you show up in the world because you got to streamline it. Like you said earlier, being afraid to make decisions or unable to make decisions. There is such a thing as decision fatigue. And there is a reason why Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every single day. He said, because I only have so many choices in a day and I don't want to waste any of them on what I'm wearing. And, really just setting yourself up for success in that area. And I also have a 6-month container. All the coaching that I do is one-on-one because I've done group programs in the past, but the topics that we talk about are pretty personal. And not everybody feels comfortable sharing those in front of groups. So because of that, I ended up starting the Neurospicy Academy with my business partner, Christina. And we have plenty of opportunities for entrepreneurs of varying levels and big, gigantic, ambitious goals, really figure out what it is that they're going to need to do to get there. And Christina says it the best. She says, if you want to be a doctor, there's a roadmap, right? You know that you have to go to college for this many years and you have to go into med school for this many years and then you have to be a resident. So it's not like this is exactly what you do, but you know the steps that you have to take, whether you go to Harvard or whether you go to FSCJ, whatever it is, there's a roadmap. So we decided to create a roadmap and we call it the Yellow Brick Road for entrepreneurs who want to make sure that they have all their T's crossed and their I's dotted and that they're going in the right direction with support for their mindset, with support for building their company and hiring people and having a team, and with support for their business design because she's a genius business designer. And if you are this happens to all of us. You go to a webinar or a seminar and somebody's like, oh my God, I launched this and I had $100,000 launch and da 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 da. What they don't tell you is that they've been in business for 15 years. They have 10,000 people on their email list. They have over 1 million social followers all over the place. And if that ain't what you have, you can't expect to have that $100,000 launch too. I mean, it could happen. Weirder things have, but if that's the, unrealistic expectation, you're not
yep.
going to really be incentivized to keep going.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, all too often see that comparison game. We compare ourselves to somebody else's chapters that we're not in, and we can't do that.
I
We've
have a
got to
rule for
be
that that's very helpful. And the rule is you are allowed to compare yourself because you've already built that muscle up, right? That's already an
right.
action that your brain is designed to do. But you
Right.
compare yourself to past versions of you. You can't compare yourself to another
Oh,
human.
oh, okay. You know what? And that's really good because that really heals some of your like inner child work a little bit because I feel like my inner child would love what I'm doing right now. They would be
Mm-hmm.
so proud of me. They
2018
would,
Melanie would be excited about what's
right?
going on right
Yeah.
now.
That's,
We're not even
that's,
that far removed from it. I was talking with somebody
yes.
the other day
Yes.
who's thinking about joining one of my programs. And I said, okay, well, what's your ultimate goal for your business? And she's like, well, in 5 to 10 years, I would like to have a retreat and I would like to be able to do XYZ every day, like have a slow morning with my dogs, drink my coffee. And she said some other things about like the intricacies of the day that she wants. And I said, okay, well, how are you spending your days right now? And she's like, well, I have a slow morning and I drink coffee with my dogs and I get to do this. I said, so it doesn't
Oh,
sound like you're very far off. Why do you
no.
think that the retreat has to be 5 to 10 years away? And she's like, you know what? Thank you for that. Cause I really hadn't thought about just how close I actually am to that life. So don't let the timing and the should and
Yes.
the supposed to's, you're on your own timeline. You're not on somebody else's.
Yeah. And do it the way that you want to do it. Cause like you
Yeah.
touched on this earlier of how, you know, like let's say in the coaching space for me, for instance, there's like a system. Like people are like, you got to launch this one, you got to do this, and you got to do, and it's like I have never been that type of business owner. I've always kind of done my own thing. I've always kind of carved my own path. And that's like who I am, and that's just where my comfort is, and that's like just me as a person. And so why do I think that I have to do this business different? Like, why do I, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm kind of laughing at myself recently because I'm like, why, if this one idea that keeps on popping up in my head, just because it doesn't necessarily hasn't been seen before in that space, like doesn't mean that it doesn't make sense. It's authentic to me and what I want to present the world. So like I get with that one. That's an amazing one. Um, Melanie, you've shared so many great things with the listeners. Like, I appreciate all your knowledge that you've shared today and all the things that you have that embodies who you are. And That's amazing. You mentioned all your stuff. So if anybody's listening, everything will be in the show notes. So make sure to check on that, click on the buttons in the show notes. And she has a lot of different places we're going to put on there because she has a lot of different places she shows up. So, but thanks again for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I hope you liked that episode and found something useful or a tip that you can use immediately. If you are wanting more marketing tips, business tips, or anything like that, I have a lot of resources on my website. So I have PDFs that you can download for free. So look in your show notes. There should be a link in the show notes that you can click on and it'll take you right to my coaching website. And thanks for listening.